Hello everyone, and welcome to the End-of-Day Operations Demo Part 2. It's time to complete the end-of-day operations for the customer representative after he returned to the distribution center. We begin with the settlement clerk that received a notification that a CR returned to the DC. The settlement clerk starts by reviewing and managing all the expenses incurred by the customer representative throughout the day. Next, the settlement clerk manages and audits transactions to ensure all customer transactions are accurately recorded and to identify any discrepancies. After that, he generates proof lists, including reports like the amount report, transaction report, and quantity report, which help highlight and detect any anomalies in the day's transactions. Finally, he closes the settlement, concluding the end-of-day process. This step ensures all transactions are correctly recorded, effectively completing the day's operations. As the settlement clerk, this is my landing page. I'm presented with various insights related to settlements and their statuses, with the option to filter by date. The first step is navigating to the Quick Settlement tab, where I can view the settlement details and all related expenses. I will select the settlement of Brian Wilson, the customer representative, to take a closer look at the financial details of his settlement. We can check the net load value and the details of the free products delivered. This section covers everything related to today's transactions. The next step is to review the final settlement details. This involves reviewing the proof lists related to the settlement. A proof list is a set of reports generated by SDX to help the settlement clerk identify discrepancies in the settlement. It highlights three key areas. 1. Quantity, the quantities of items loaded out and returned to the distribution center. 2. Amount, all expenses and transactions related to the settlement. And 3. Transaction, lists all today's transactions such as invoices issued to customers with their promotions and payments collected. The settlement clerk cannot close the settlement until all discrepancies identified by the system are corrected. The settlement related to Brian has 3 errors. The cashier has not yet received the amount from Brian. Also, there is a discrepancy in the quantity of items returned with the customer representative. Due to the discrepancy with the items, it also impacts the amount, so I will click here to resolve the amount variance. The variances can be resolved by either charging the customer representative or the customer. In this case, I'll charge the CR to address the variance by generating a CR invoice. Now that the discrepancy is addressed, only one error remains. The customer representative hasn't yet handed over the payments to Hannah, the cashier. So the CR will go to Hannah to hand over the denominations, resolving the remaining issue. The cashier is responsible for collecting payments from the customer representative upon their return to the distribution center. She records the cash and checks payments, verifies that the amounts and denominations match, and cross-checks the settlement reports to ensure all transactions are accurate, completing the end-of-day settlement process. As a cashier, this is my workbench, where I have insights related to payments and adjustment statuses. I can filter by date to review payments from previous days, allowing me to track and manage all transactions efficiently. I review the customer representative's settlement and see that Brian has collected both cash and check payments today. I validate the check detail entered by the CR during his visit. Then I enter the denomination for the cash received from the customer representative. So I received 2 notes of $20 from the CR. I confirm this transaction by clicking the Commit button, which notifies the settlement clerk that I have successfully received the payment from Brian. Then the CR will head back to the settlement clerk, who will now confirm that there are no remaining errors for this settlement. I review the proof list reports, starting with the quantity report, which shows the quantities of items loaded out and returned to the distribution center along with the load details. Next, we have the amount report, which shows the net value of all expenses and transactions related to the settlement. And finally, we have the transaction report, which lists all of today's transactions, including invoices issued to customers along with their promotions and the payments collected. After reviewing these reports, I proceed to close the CR settlement by clicking on Close Settlement button, marking the end of the customer representative's day. To summarize, in Part 1 the customer representative returned to the DC, and we demonstrated the gatekeeper and warehouse keeper's validation process. In Part 2, the settlement clerk audited the transactions, and the cashier collected the payments. Finally, the settlement clerk closed the settlement. This concludes our demo of the end-to-end Xvan operations using SDX, covering every stage of the process from load request by the CR and route operations to the final end-of-day closing. Thank you for watching our SDX Xvan demo.